How has your mentor influenced the way that you teach?
So I now approach my class in a different way. I understand that my students are not just there to intake information, but also to shape the whole discourse of the classroom. So as my mentor would put it, there are many teachers in the classroom, just not the person just standing in the front of the room. So what we've been able to do over the course of my teaching is to transform my outlook from being one as a information giver to being one of a answer elicitor, to make sure that the students are also being involved in uncovering the answers, so that they realize that they know more than they do already, and that itself makes them more interested in the learning.
And how has your teaching evolved from your beginning until now?
So that's a great question. I used to be a single-minded teacher in the sense that I just wanted to give the information to the kids and expected that they would take it in as if they're reading a book that they love and cherish, and every single moment would be absolute bliss for them hearing me speak. And now I'm of the understanding that to be a teacher is not just to give information, it's to make information palatable. It's to make it fun and exciting for the kids, to be dynamic. So instead of just giving a frontal lecture, it might mean doing a project or giving kids an opportunity so that the way in which they're able to find out the information, to learn the information, is not just worthwhile, but it's stimulating for them.
And how do you think your students have gained from your experience?
I'm not sure that they have, but what I think my students gained from my experience, I would have to say that my students now have a greater benefit in that when I get up in front of them, I have a greater understanding of what works and what doesn't work, and why things work and why they don't work, and I also have a greater sensitivity to the individuals in the classroom. And so the way my teaching has evolved and the way the students benefit now is that I now am more conscious of the different learning styles, the different learning modes, the different approaches of the students, as well as a greater sensitivity to how to convey information.
Why is it important to be mentored, do you think?
That's the most important part of mentoring, is having someone who can really help you to bounce ideas, and somebody who really knows what they're talking about. I mean, to just get on ice skates and try to start skating is not at all the same as having somebody show you the technique and to appreciate how you're doing things and why you're doing things and what's the effect of it. And if you understand why what you're doing is good or why what you're doing is not working, then it gives one a greater ability to then mold their teaching into an ideal format. And so having a mentor, I think, is ideal because it's really someone to guide you so that they can take you from being an unformed mass, from being someone who doesn't know how to ice skate, and teach you really how to do it properly and understand why the teaching is going exactly right the way it is.
Can you give an example of a difficult time in your teaching that you relied on some of the skills that you learned in mentoring?
Sure. I can remember that there was a particular sugya that was very complicated for the students to understand the difference of opinion between two rabbis, and it was difficult to follow the back and forth, and I couldn't figure out how to get them to just understand it. And I thought if I just say it again and say it again and say it again, that eventually they'll get it. And the more I said it, it was just that they would tune out more and more each time. And so I came up with a different tack. I said, you know what? I'm going to give the students a different way of being able to approach the sugya. Instead of me teaching it to them, I'm going to have them teach it to me. And once they became the ambassadors of the knowledge, once they became responsible to be the teachers, all of a sudden their interest just peaked and they were excited to learn the information. And so the next class when I came in and I asked the kids who understood the machloket between Rav and Rava, it was all the hands in the room went up and everybody was ready to participate in the conversation. That's something I would never have done when I first came into the class. I would have said, students are students, teachers are teachers, and the students should not be teaching the teacher. And yet after a year with my mentor, I said, you know what, let's take a gamble and see, maybe the students can be teachers too. And it succeeded tremendously.